Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing another tag video today. I'm on a roll. So let's do this nostalgia book tab that's being created by Noah at Everyone Who Reads in Must Converse, the original. It's a really cool tag. It's something that a lot of people already have done, and I've enjoyed all of them. It's one of those kind of grab a tea or a coffee and enjoy the video type of tag. And I was kindly tagged by Jordan at Jordan Parsons, who I follow every time he puts up out a video. I love his succinct comments, very witty, about Victorian literature, about Shakespeare. He's got great tastes in literary tastes. And of course, we all love his little pets that are running around in some of his videos. Okay, let's get started. This is starting with question 1 is the oldest book from your life that you still own. Oldest book from my life that I still own, in fact, is the Deer Slayer by James Fenimore Cooper, which I find funny myself, you know, being Italian, that's not what you would think of an Italian guy. Oh, that's the oldest book that you own. Yeah, it is. It belonged to my grandpa, and it was one of those classic editions in Italian, because I learned English later on in my life. And I remember some scenes of that book. By the way, I loved it. I loved it very, very much. It was a little violent maybe for the age when I read it, because I must have been, I don't know, 7 or 8. And some of those scenes, it's like I was there, like I lived them. It almost reminds me of Anthony Kiedis in his autobiography, The Singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, where he talks about, in his autobiography titled Scar Tissue, he talks about the first time he ever tried acid. And it was such an intense and electrifying experience that it changed his world. Of course, this was not drugs and it was not acid, it was a book, but the intensity with which a child is able to experience things, especially things that he likes and make a big impact, is unrepeatable. And I was there with those Indians. I was swimming in the lake, climbing on top of this cabin in the lake, seeing all those battle scenes. It was just an incredible experience. Second prompt, first loved library book. That is probably, for me, finally, an Italian book. That's The Baron in the Trees by Italo Calvino. Another book that had stunning, an immense impression and effect on me, on my life. It's one of those books that I remember when I finished, I had to pause for a second for how much it had opened up my own being to the power of literature, to the power of imagination, and also the meaning itself of the book, that seems to be metaphorically describing the life of an artist, of somebody who decides willingly to always live in the trees and always live, let's say, above the lines, and in a certain sense, with his head up in the clouds. So that was a fantastic experience, and I got it from the library. Book number 3, a book that was given to you. When I think of this prompt, I actually think of a religious book that was given to me by my wife's sister, and the title of it is The Jesuit Guide to Everything. Tongue-in-cheek title. The author is Father James Martin, a Jesuit, and in this book he describes in a serious but light-hearted way what it means to be a Jesuit, the Jesuit overall movement, and some examples and anecdotes and stories from his life. Let's say It's a book that looks with mirth at everything that has to do with the Jesuits. And it includes a lot of insights about prayer, Jesuit prayer, which is extremely rich and insightful, about Ignatius, Saint Ignatius. So it's a book that gave me a lot. It's a book that taught me a lot, and this is why I remember it with a lot of love, and I remember the gift itself with a lot of love. Prompt number 4, a book that was recommended to you. This is easy because it's recent, and I started reading it. Unfortunately, I haven't finished it yet, but I love it. It's a science fiction book called The Engines of God by Jack McDevitt, and that was recommended to me by Scott Danielson, another booktuber who has very similar tastes to mine in many respects, not only in science fiction, but also spiritual books, religious books, and many others. Buddy read text. Well, I'm enjoying a lot my buddy reads recently, especially in the last month or a couple of months. One that I just finished was Crime and Punishment, a reread of Crime and Punishment with Christie of Dostoevsky in Space. And it was a really fun reread because it really is, it was striking to me. I had read Crime and Punishment at least 30 years ago when I was a teenager, an early teenager. And I had liked it, but it didn't really give me much, and I honestly didn't pick up a lot, didn't understand the core of what Dostoevsky is trying to do and trying to tell us with that book. Now, not only rereading it now has given me a lot more and has resonated immensely, and I finally understand why people talk about Dostoevsky as the great genius that he is. I do believe it. It's the first time that I was shocked by that type of genius, especially from my Christian point of view. But also because almost every paragraph, every chapter has some type of faint memory attached to it of myself as a young, inexperienced, and ignorant of life reader. And comparing those type of memories to today has been a very rich, very galvanizing experience. I guess that happens especially when things are going well in your life, of course. If you're desperate and you're miserable and your life used to be great, then it wouldn't work the other way, I guess. Number 6, books introduced to you in school. This is easy because there was a lot of literature in my high school in Italy. A lot of it was, in fact, classic. We learned ancient Greek, Latin, so there was everything from the Iliad, Odyssey, Aeneid, the works of Virgil in general, the Divine Comedy, The Betrothed by Alessandro Manzoni. I would say, as a official answer to this question, I would probably say all the poems by Giacomo Leopardi, one of the most famous Italian poet, famous for his pessimism and for the darkness of his poetry, something that it's almost right and fair to see as poisonous in the mind and the hearts of teenagers in school who are looking for, in their confusion of their hormones and everything, they're looking for some type of direction and guidance, because Leopardi is extremely charming and extremely magnetic, and he will seduce you with his power and bring you to a very dark, very black place. They're beautiful poems, very, very beautiful ones, but you need to be strong, I think, in yourself. And a young teenager who is reading Leopardi might be negatively affected. Number 7, genre fiction that inspires nostalgia. To me, because of my reader's history and for how much science fiction I read when I was a young boy, and because I read all the science fiction that my grandpa and my father had collected, definitely science fiction. Number 8, literary work that inspires nostalgia. Probably all Steinbeck, again because my grandparents had all of his works translated in Italian and in a very nice collection, and I read them all, and again many of these books I remember vividly. I remember those scenes with a particular strength. What is a spiritual text that inspires nostalgia? For me, the spiritual text that inspires nostalgia is The Prophet by Gibran or Gibran. I never really knew how to properly pronounce it. It's incredibly famous, yes. It's quoted around Facebook. It's being commoditized to the point of almost losing the beauty that it has, but it does have a lot of beauty, and I still love that book. Sometimes I go back to it, and it carries echoes of my youth in a sense, because I read it when I was very young. I will tag somebody who hasn't done this tag video yet, and thank you so much to you for watching.